Hi there, it's Dorothy Black from thedotspot.net. Today we'll be touching on some super complex issues around sex, gender, and sexuality. Now, convos around gender are enormously important because they force us to challenge stereotypes and old thinking about what makes men men and what makes women women. So what's the difference between gender, sex, and sexuality? Well, when we're talking about a human sex, we're talking about their biological construction, whether they're a male or a female mammal. In other words, whether they have a penis or a vagina. When it comes to gender, we're talking about their personal identity to being a man or a woman. So whether someone sees themselves as a man or as a woman, regardless of what their bodies look like. So this is why you can have a man in a female body and a woman in a male body. So for example, a transgender person's gender identity would not match the biological sex that they were assigned at birth, and cisgender people's identity matches the sex of their body. Sexuality, on the other hand, is basically just who you like getting jiggy with, like which people's genitals you like to play with. It's just a hodgepodge of individual taste, of history, of biology, of context. It's basically like, do you like having sex with a man? Do you like having sex with a woman? Do you like having sex with both? Are you gay? Are you lesbian, straight, or bi? You know, and are you straight and sometimes like having sex with people of the same sex, or are you equally attracted to everyone, or are you just not attracted to anyone sexually? Are you asexual? Now, this is the most simple breakdown of sex, gender, and sexuality. There are a lot more expressions and combinations of sexual preferences, gender identity, and expression and body construction out there. Like, there are loads. But this is just a good basis to start. So one of the things that questions about gender raise for us is how they affect how gender identity kind of affects how we dress or who we're attracted to. You know, but I think there are two parts to gender identity here. And I think there's the part that you actually feel, like, you know, what you're born knowing you are, and what society says you should be feeling because of your sex. So if your sex is female, we kind of seem to automatically expect your gender to be aligned. So when a baby pops out of the womb as a female, we assign its gender as her, we pop her in pink clothes, and we let her know that she is the weaker, meeker, subservient, less smart sex, and that she must one day find a husband. And that is the good thing for her. If a baby pops out with a penis, we tell it its gender is a boy, we call it a he, we dress it in blue, we tell him that he is strong, he must provide, he must never feel weak, and that he must be attracted to women with, you know, big boobs or a big ass or, you know, the big porno thing, because that's what guys like. Now, this is not to say that you can't be a man in a male body and like beer and rugby and big boobs, but don't assume that that is everybody's reality. And don't even assume that that's your reality if you haven't actually fully unpacked and thought about these things, about the choices you've made in your life. Propaganda, whether it comes as cultural propaganda, social propaganda, religious propaganda, traditional propaganda, is hugely influential, and it takes an enormous amount of self-reflection to kind of get past it. I think other things that we need to consider is that there are also very different gender expressions. Masculine and feminine are simply ideas that we attach to our self-expression. There are ideas around what masculinity looks like, that it is hairy and bearded, or that it wears pants. Our ideas around feminine is that it is, you know, frilly, or maybe it wears high heels, or maybe it's in flowing gowns. And so your gender expression could be attached to anything. You could be a cisgender dude who is straight and likes women, but your gender expression is feminine. Maybe you like wearing panties sometimes, or maybe you like dressing up. This doesn't make you any less of a man, just like a woman with a shaved head wearing pants and jackets doesn't really make her any less of a woman if that's how she identifies. Now, I suppose some people will say, well, you know, I don't have a problem with this. My sex is aligned with my gender, and my gender expression is very, you know, heteronormative and kind of normal, so why is this a big deal for me? We've created these stereotypes around gender and sexuality, and they affect everyone, even you, even if you think it doesn't. Some gender stereotypes include boys don't cry and girls are weak, or real men are strong and they like beer, and real women wear high heels and they like makeup. A real woman has babies and doesn't have a career, and a real man likes to play sport. Some of my favorite sexuality stereotypes include like all gay men like anal sex, and straight men should never have anything to do with their anuses because then they're gay. Another one is like all lesbians are butch and hate men, or women don't really like sex and all men ever think about is sex. If you're human, no matter what your gender or sexuality, you are subject to the stereotypes we've created around gender and sexuality. No one is safe from the tyranny of the stereotype, and without fail, it stifles and it stunts personal development and personal expression. The gender and sexuality conversations that are started by the LGBTI community provides all of us with an opportunity to face, question, and fight these stereotypes. And fight we must. So you know the LGBTI acronym, right? Well, the first bits, the LGB, lesbian, gay, and bisexual, are about your sexuality. It's about like which sex makes your genitals sit up and say hello. The TI bit is about gender and body, so transgender and intersex people. Now, the reason they're all lumped together in this sort of group is because all of these groups really have to fight for their human right to self-determination and safety. There are a lot of people who want to physically hurt, shame, and ostracize the men and women who do not follow the cookie-cutter standards of gender and sexuality, even though these cookie-cutter standards are just pie-in-the-sky ideas that people have thought up. You know, these cookie-cutter standards of like the right way is the straight way. One man, one woman, he on top, and she virginal, and not wanting sex because that is bad, and then she's a slut. You know, I think that this violence against the LGBTI community, or anybody actually that kind of thinks differently or wants to be different or express themselves differently, is really born out of a lot of fear and a lot of ignorance. And this fear and ignorance is usually supported by propaganda that postures as religious doctrine or traditional values or political values. There is no one normal cookie-cutter way to be. There is no one paradigm that is absolutely right. And believing this is very narrow, it is untrue, and it is fundamentally backwards thinking. If you do not open your mind to the possibility that people are different and like different things, and insist on the very narrow, heteronormative, patriarchal view of human identity and sexuality, you are on the wrong side of history, basically. So before you want to say anything shitty to anyone, or make judgments, or hurt the people around you for the different choices that they're making in your lives, I would say educate yourself, snap out of it, stop living in the dark ages, and as my sister would say, check yourself before you wreck yourself.